My name is Kat McDaniel, and we're back with another episode from Power and Community Podcast, NAACP Akron. Without further ado, Judi Hill.
Thank you, Kat. The Power Akron NAACP Power and Community Podcast is brought to you to focus on important issues and topics that affect our community here in the Akron, Ohio. We believe that knowledge is power, and organized power makes change happen. I am Judi Hill, president of the Akron branch of the NAACP.
And I am Dr. Lathardus Goggins II, second vice president and education chair of the Akron NAACP.
We will be your hosts as we discuss issues and strategies to make Akron a more just and better place to live, work, and play. Welcome.
Good to be here. Good to be here. Thank you.
Good. So today's episode, we're going to be focusing on economic justice and talking about different pathways to prosperity and different ways that we can, as a community, be economically sustainable. So as we move forward in our discussion, one of the things that we want to take some time is revisit some of the reports and some of the things that have documented the economic landscape here in Akron.
Back in 2018, the region, Northeast Ohio region, commissioned a study, and it was called the Two Tomorrow Report.
I remember that.
Yes, and the Two Tomorrows Report, and it really, if you read the entire document, helps you to understand that we have an opportunity to create two different tomorrows in the Akron area. Mm-hmm. One based on mediocrity, and we can continue to do what we've always done, or we can look at the impact of this study and make some changes so that the city, the county, and the region can thrive in a way that we believe it can. Out of that report came a local initiative called Elevate Akron. But here's the key. In both of those reports, it talked about the inequities for African Americans and economic justice. One of the things in the Two Tomorrows report that came out very clearly, it said systemic racism is real. Mm-hmm. That's the first time in a long time we've had individuals here recognize, identify, and claim it as it is. And because of the systemic racism that exists in Summit County and in this Northeast Ohio region, we are holding back a portion of our population that could help us to thrive and move forward. Because of that, Akron commissioned a study just locally, and of course found the exact same thing, that we have issues economically, that African Americans have been completely left out of the, not completely, let me make an adjustment. Because we were thriving before the Interbelt came through. Right. We were a thriving community. African Americans along
Howard Street.
Mm-hmm. We brought in national entertainment. We had our own businesses. And through that changes that occurred, Black Akron suffered.
A lot of the urban renewal movement during that time, that was with the late 60s, early 70s. And Akron, unfortunately, was not unique, right? You can go to down in Canton, was the Cherry Road area, where they put through the. It always seems to be some type of interbelt, some type of where they put a highway or something like that that went right through the Black community, and you could be on one side of what used to be this thriving business district, because even after the destruction of Black Wall Street, Tulsa rebuilt that neighborhood and businesses came back, but then there was urban renewal and cut right through it.
They didn't just pick on what happened with African Americans. They talked about the system. The system within the Akron area itself is fragmented. This was one of the statements that came out of Elevate Akron. The Akron region's economic development system is outdated and fragmented. What are we going to do about it? It also stated much of Akron's, particularly its Black population, is excluded from economic opportunity, and that represents a major threat. I want you to, it's in writing, a major threat to growth and competition in the city of Akron. We've had mayors that have focused in on trying to get more individuals to stay in the city. We've had individuals come in and try to focus in on trying to rebuild downtown. Instead of looking at the reports that we commission, glean the information, use it to our advantage. And the county, through the chamber, has tried to address some of this economic disparity.
Yes, yes. So let's talk about what are some solutions. And so first, let me just ask you, when you talk about economic justice, what does that mean to you?
Well, the reports kind of really spoke to a lot of that, And when we talk about the two tomorrows, there really are two tomorrows, and two really realities that I think that we can all probably face, right? One would be one that, like you were talking earlier about our demise, but what I think about economic justice, I'm looking at being able to provide resources to the community by people who are vested in the community, who knows the community, who are trusted by the community to be able to have equitable access to resources so that transformative actions can take place in the community for the community. And when we look at also the our solutions to our problems, we know that it has to come from us. The decades of reports that we've looked at, and I've looked at least 3 of them, decades of reports that all say the same thing, all has the same solution. But the bottom line is that if we are really looking for economic solutions and change, then we have to do things differently, and that's why BEWCA came into existence.
Okay, you say BEWCA, what does that mean?
Oh,
Who is that?
okay. So BEWCA is an acronym for the Black Economic and Wellness Coalition of Akron, and we really came together because of that report. That one of the reports, the Elevate Akron, was one of the pivotal reports that we saw that the disparity, the inequitable distributions of resources that have come into our community has continued to happen over time. And one of our co-founders, Charmaine Thurman, she was like enraged. She had just gone through a rites of passage process for elders, and her heart was open for our community, and it hurt so bad that it appeared that no one was mad about this report. Somebody should do something, and so
it was almost like they created this report and in our face said, now what do you guys want to do about it? We didn't create the problem,
right,
but they want us to solve it.
Right. And so I think the thing that what I really like about how BEWCA has taken on this problem, because we look at the fact that we're talking about inequitable distribution of resources, and we look at the problems that we have in particular. BEWCA looked at 4 initiative areas. We look at the housing, which we know is a huge problem in Akron. We look at the health and wellness situation as one of our initiatives. And we also have workforce development and our youth empowerment. So when we look at these 4 areas, we say that we have people who are able to do businesses, black-owned, black-led businesses, that can do this transformative work. So why are we still in this situation, right? Why are we still here? And the solution, the answer was a resounding, is because we don't have access to the opportunity, right? You'll take an organization that has a ministry or whatever that deals with prison population, and they build housing and things like that, and they go after resources from the commonwealths that we all know who they are, and they give a proposal, complete the RFP, perfect RFP. And they're challenged with the fact that, hey, this looks good.
You're not established.
You're only 2 years old, things like that. And so we'll give you a fraction of what it is that you're asking for to actually address the problem. And it doesn't address the problem because now you got a $100,000 project that is being funded at $10,000 and expected to do a $100,000 project. So that doesn't make sense.
I want to just put a pin there and highlight what you just said. That because even when you say, okay, we're going to give it to the most established or the person that has a track record of demonstrating the ability to do it, but in years past, you've excluded certain people, then the person that was always included will always be the person most
prepared,
experience, and most whatever to do it, right? And if you never get a chance to practice and develop your business, then how do you become established in that. So that's an interesting kind of thing. It says, okay, we're just going to treat everybody the same. But if you not treat everybody the same and then start treating everybody the same, then the people who was privileged before are privileged now.
Right, absolutely.
They will always be ahead of the game.
Okay, you have that scenario, right? And we have those big whales, and I call a big whale like the state of Ohio or Goodyear or the county. You have these big whales that are constantly, providing millions of dollars into our community to change our narrative per se, right? Mm-hmm. And those funds get in there, and when they get the funds, a large portion of those dollars we found, and we can prove it statistically, have gone towards advancing the agendas of the organizations where the money is landing, right? And then they portion out a small fragment of that money into the black community to say that we are solving here's some support for you to solve your problem, right? But then the money that they're getting, that they're sending to the black community is divided up into 10, 20, 30, 40, 100, sometimes nonprofits and organizations that are competing. And so what typically happens is that those folks who get funded are the common folks that they've typically funded because they have a relationship, or it's those organizations that are continuing to maintain their status quo. Because in my mind, it's like, and how we approach it now through BEWCA, we say, all right, big funder, you have X amount of dollars that are supposed to come into the black community, correct? And so why don't you allow those resources to come to us? Allow us, because we have relationships with the black-owned and black-led businesses in our community that they're able to do. And so we take those resources and we look at that data that says we have had inequitable distribution of funding in our community, and the data has showed through Elevate Akron and other reports that the situation has not gotten better. In fact, it's gotten worse, right? Mm-hmm. And so we want to solve our problems. So we're a data-driven, data-informed organization that looks at those numbers and data and say, here's what's happening in our community. You have the resources to say that you want to fix this. You spent millions of dollars already year after year for decades, right? Your data shows this. But the situation has gotten worse. So that tells us, Mr. Funder, that either what you're doing is not working or that what you're doing is intentional.
So we, as the Akron NAACP, we are one of those trusted partners, absolutely, I hope, with some of these major funders, and they will keep funding us. But we are also wanting to make sure that our community benefits from it all. Absolutely. So the more of us that are connected, the better we're going to be.
Absolutely, mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's so what we do then is, because we have NAACPs and Tri-Ministries and Mustard Seeds and all these black-owned, black-led businesses who have done work, and we piloted our process first with the housing initiative because we had in-ways into the west side, because of the council person that was involved with us at the time. Mm-hmm. And we also had, Mustard Seed, who was involved with doing work in the community and housing. And so we said, let's pilot this with housing first. And so, and when I say this, I'm talking about the process that makes what we do different than other funding organizations, right? And so through that process, we pretty much pulled the community together and say, hey, this is where we know the problems are. We pulled those organizations who work with, who were solution-based because they're doing the transformative work already. We know that they just need to build capacity, but we bring them in. We say, hey, you guys know the answer to the problem.
And can you talk a little bit about the circles? Because it's not about a group of individuals saying, oh, we know what's best for Akron.
Exactly.
No, we actually have a process to make sure community members are engaged.
Absolutely. Now we're just getting ready to go there. Thank you. Because so what happens in the process, those black-owned and black-led businesses, they come around the table. Let's just say it's 40 of them or 40 of them that are interested in addressing the housing problem that we have, right? We asked all of them, give us your number one ideal around what we could do to solve the housing problem. What would you do if you had the resources to solve the housing problem? All 40 of those folks will go around and give their number one idea. We look at that in this process, and this is like our deliberative dialogue process, we look at them, we call our Harambe circles, and we look at all 40 of those ideas, and then we say, okay, what are these ideas that are similar and same that we can collapse and combine, right? And so of those 40 now, we probably have 20 real ideas, maybe 15 real strong ideas once we collapse and combine them. And then from there, we ask them to prioritize through our process, right? And that's where they determine what the priorities are. Now, we say we have the resources. Let's say there's $100,000 that we have to just do some piloting work. And of that $100,000, we let the organization show around the table say, hey, what could you do with this $100,000 to address these priorities that you've identified? And they come up with the answer. They come up with the budget. They'll put their actual cost in there because it is what the value is, right? They won't get shimmied down to, a percentage of that. And then we fund that project for them. They submit that one project plan and one budget, and we fund that for them, and we monitor it during the course of the year. And so that's a little bit different because now they're not competing for dollars. They're actually now looking at a way to collaborate and address the problems so that by the end of their process, the needle has moved in a positive direction towards.
So it's a community initiative developed by community members who say, let us work together to make it happen, that impact our community.
Absolutely.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
It sounds like cooperative economics.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, so that's very interesting.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry, because it not only does it sound like cooperative economics, but it sounds like, umoja. It sounds like unity, collective work and responsibility. And the reason why I want to jump back in and say that is because the value system that we bring everybody into this organization is the Nguzo Saba. We have all those organizations say, hey, this is our value system, that how we're going to work honestly and with integrity with one another in this process. And so they agree to that, and that allows us to come into the space with trust and respect.
That's beautiful, because one of the things that I always like to emphasize is that when we practice our culture authentically, the natural consequence of that is excellence.
Absolutely.
Right?
So I love what Black Economic Wellness Coalition is doing. It's been steadfast and moving forward. Thank you, Terrence, for coming in and sharing that piece of the puzzle. It's one piece of some other initiatives that are out there. We also have the Chamber of Commerce, the Black Chamber of Commerce, that's also looking at community engagement, developing, empowering, and promoting Black-owned businesses by providing them the resources that they need so that they can become successful and provide that economic. So that's two prongs to it. But also on a local level, Dr. Goggins, you want to talk about our Kwanzaa?
So each year, as a part of Kwanzaa, the Akron NAACP sponsors Ujamaa, cooperative economics. And in particular, we focus on young entrepreneurs. So we provided a opportunity, a space for the young entrepreneurs to come in and vend at no cost to themselves. And then we follow up throughout the year. We've had our first quarter workshop with the great Ace Epps, who provided some information about knowing your value and those kinds of things and how that impacts your business. But we have our second quarter coming up, and we will be again talking with our young entrepreneurs about the Black Chamber of Commerce and other resources that are available to them. And so yes, we are concerned about the justice, but we also want to make sure people and our community in general have the resources necessary for their own economic sustainability.
So if people don't understand or know about the Black Economic Wellness Coalition of Akron, hopefully now they have a tidbit. Get engaged. If you're not familiar with the Akron Black Chamber of Commerce, please find out, get engaged. And even with the NAACP and our Kwanzaa initiative, we have adults who are upset with us at times because we don't allow them to showcase their business. We want to focus in on our young people to help build them and help them understand what it's all about. So thank you.
And we will have links and resources on the NAACP page. You can look for economic resources and economic justice links at the NAACP website, Akron website.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you, my brother.
You can view this and other episodes on the NAACP Akron YouTube channel or listen and subscribe to NAACP Akron Power and Community Podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts. I'd like to thank you again for joining us. See you next week.